at last. We explain Shulk, Rex, Melia, Nia, and Riku's age, how Mobius mirrors the Trinity processor, the Sword of Origin, the Rift. We explain Alpha's artifice and Phronis' relation with Ion, the Trinities in each game, and N and M's journey in the early Ionios days, events before Future Redeem. What a saga that was! Okay, but now what? What will the next act entail? How the next Xenoblade game will be is subject of continuous debate. There are many clues, but also dead ends. The fandom is divided, as always, in whether it will be linked to Xenosaga or Xenoblade X. Calm down, people, worry not, for in this video not only will I give a look to both of these sides, but none of those at the same time. Spoiler for every Xenogame franchise. In case you don't know, Xenoblade is the third iteration of the story originally created in Square Enix by future Monolith Soft founders, as Xenogears Perfect Works, later readapted or reworked into Xenosaga by Monolith Soft and Bandai Namco, and now under the hands of Monolith Soft and Nintendo as Xenoblade. First, we'll check the references to Xenogears Perfect Works, to Xenosaga and Xenoblade X in Xenoblade 3. Then, the contradictions for both Xenosaga and Xenoblade X. But also, how X and Saga are actually very similar and share many plot and lore elements between each other. And most importantly, two neutral answers. KOS-MOS, White Whale. Let's imagine that those are just Easter eggs, and theorize with what we were told in-game. What if that blue light is just the Icarus? And the other neutral answer, considering all of the previous ones, what the next game will be about, no matter if it's Saga, X or Episode Icarus, as there are themes and threads in common in all of those options that will develop into the next one regardless. So, no matter which side you are, or if you aren't into anything yet, you will get something from this video. So, let's begin the experiment. Okay, let's start with elements in common within each game. It's all about Earth being lost in some experiment, stuff happening inside and outside the main planet. In Xenoblade 1, 2, 3 and Xenogears Episode 5, we experience the adventures of the new human race based on the original one, their struggles in a cycle manipulated by technology of the old world. So, basically, the tales of the planet, while both Xenoblade X and Xenosaga follow the adventures of the people in space, who left or live outside of the original planet. Let's highlight in general terms what they all have in common. All of these games have an ancient godlike mech with immense power, which has a very bulky powerful form that later morphs into a true skinny divine form, the Deus archetype. In Gears, Saga and Blade, it's a machine with male and female components, Anima and Animus. In Gears with Deus as the Geisel Ministry, born from it, and Anima relics. In Saga, with the Weltal and Birch-alike mechs, Omega is a relic of God. There is also Anima relics thanks to Chaos, but that's a long story. In Blade, with Ion, the artifice from the Trinity, with Ontos, the mediator, and Numa and Logos as the female and male processors. All of these Deus-like machines were powered by an alien energy source regulated by a man-made processing machine, the Zohar in Xenogears through the Cadomony, the Conduit in Blade through the Trinity processor, and in Blade X, whatever the original power source that was supposed to fuel the Vita was. Without it, it could only work at 30% of its capabilities. In Gears, Saga and Blade, we got the visual of an emerging winged creature, whether it's Deus terraforming the planet, the Omega system emerging from Militia, or Origin emerging from itself to reset Ionios. Xenogears Xenosaga and Xenoblade 3 share the concept of a shadow council that runs the world, that keeps the people in conflict with each other to assure their goals, manipulating history, religion, and culture. In Xenogears, we got the Geisel Ministry, from the first humans along with Cain, born direct from Deus, male organic component, while the animal relics were the female component, later giving up their physical bodies, now as data in a spherical computer. In Xenosaga, we got the Testaments, servants of Wilhelm and the Eternal Recurrence, which were exceptional people with a shining will and died in the past, losing their original physical form, now earning new abilities like teleporting and unmatched longevity. In Xenoblade 3, we got the Mobius consoles, servants of Set and the Endless Now, which were amusing people with a strong will and died in the past, losing their original physical form, now earning new abilities like teleporting and unmatched longevity. In Xenoblade X, we got the Black Knight design heavily resembling both Mobius and the Testament, but the closest thing we have to an organization were the Sumerians, an ancient human civilization that created the new humans and the slave alien races, making the latter weak to human DNA as a failsafe. But the Sumerian Federation aligns more with Xenosaga's Galaxy Federation and Xenogears' Milky Way Federation, with them ruling over several planets and engineering artificial lives as weapons. In all of these games, we got some sort of arc that was the center of some conflicts. In Gears, we got the Merkaba, with them, or however you pronounce it, the Chariot of God, designed by the Geisel Ministry and Krelian, through Deus, nanomachines and data from the Eldritch. In Xenosaga, we got Merkaba and Proto-Merkaba, for research, development and reconfiguration of Realliance, warships and Gnosis absorbing machine from Xenosaga 1 and 3, Proto being sealed at the center of the Abyss, which look like two black holes. Ring any bells? In Xenoblade X, we got the Lifehold, which was supposed to store the DNA structure of all life on Earth and its culture, for eventual colonization and preservation. It is from where the memories of the people were supposed to be, but the servers were destroyed, and their data is somewhere else. There is also the Ghost Bane ship from the unknown Ghost faction that heavily resembles Merkaba and Origin. And in Xenoblade 3, we got Origin, where the souls and memories of the people and their worlds were stored for its eventual recreation and assimilation when the universes collide and positive and negative matter cancel each other out, leaving only energy. But we also got the Radamanthus beanstalk in this universe. What do I mean with this? This is where core crystal technology, which stored data of all living things on Earth, was stored, which Klaus used to make all rest, and the Earth colonization program ships depart from it. If they were to colonize unknown planets, they could have stored some core crystals with that data here, to depart to the great beyond. In every franchise, we got long-range colonization spaceships, Philadelphia-class ships like the Eldritch in Gears, which was meant to get rid of Deus until it rebooted and tried to go to the main planet. In Saga, we have the Pleroma, the immigrant fleet which escaped Lost Jerusalem right before it was sealed. In Blade X, we have the Earth Colonization Project, ECP ships, like the White Whale, that escaped Earth when the ghosts used antimatter weapons on it. In Xenoblade, we have 8th launch ECP ships, Earth Colonization Project ships. They name-dropped the Icarus, while the 9th to 13th, which were Philadelphia-class starships, were supposed to launch later this year. But the experiment happened. Now, onto the Xenoblade and Xenosaga references. In both franchises, we got a similar structure of the universe, the upper and lower domain, the latter divided into two, a physical or real numbers domain where the main characters are, and an imaginary numbers domain, or rift dimension, a more ethereal plane concerning the collective unconscious and souls. And above all of this, the upper domain. In Saga with Udu, and in Blade, the unknown dimension from where the conduit drains energy. Idea, which is also from Xenogears, the dimension from the wave existence. All of this linked throughout the Zohar or conduit as a gateway. Both Xenosaga and Xenoblade 3 have the following: an entity that wants to destroy part of the lower domain to keep itself or the future, those being Udu in Saga and Alpha in Blade. They also share the concept of an entity that keeps the lower domain in a perpetual cycle, eternal recurrence, rebooting the world in an endless now, trying to preserve the mortal plane, using the people in it, unlike the entity that wants to discard all of that. In this case, Wilhelm in Saga and Mobius Z in Blade, and a dark-skinned, silver-haired dude that knows too much and is crucial for the fate of the world, more than makes the eye. Both games have an internet-like technology achieved through a collective unconscious. All the people's minds or souls are connected in an ethereal plane. In Saga, we have the UMN, Unus Mundus Network, and in Blade, we have the Iris system, basically internet. All the people share data and send messages through the in-game UI. That is basically the cubes in Origin sharing information, and Uroboros can copy data such as blades. And in Saga, the UMN logo is a Uroboros snake. We also got the Gnosis from Saga and the Fog Beasts from Blade as creatures from the imaginary number domain or rift dimension. Both are signs of the world's collapsing, and also the Origin beasts resemble the Gnosis in terms of animal beings born from the collective unconscious. Origin Metal and Zarathustra Key have the same design, and the visual of the Radamanthus from Earth heavily resembles Fifth Jerusalem. And, at last, the infamous radio scene from Future Redeem. The radio talk about Saviorites, aka Salvatores from Saga and Xenoblade in Japanese, and name-dropped Dmitry Yuriev, responsible for the uprising of the Salvatores. Now, before going to what contradicts Xenosaga and Blade as canon, let's jump into the Xenoblade and Xenoblade X references first. The most important one first, the Ares and Uroboros. The design of the interlink heavily resembles the designs of the original Ares from Xenoblade X, a mech with ghost technology that requires two pilots to work properly, piloted by Elma and the lone hero in the intro of the game. In fact, the Uroboros form from Matthew reused Ares assets, like the shoulder pads and arm plates, labeled as Ares. Both X and Blade have a burn or hit mode for these mechs, and its arts are similar, like the Ashura cannons. It summons weapons like blades from thin air with orange particles from a halo or its chest. The Coalition Government is an organization name-dropped in Xenoblade X, the Siren Model Kit, and Xenoblade 3 Future Redeem, responsible for the Earth Colonization Project, and Project Exodus in both universes. The White Whale was the 4th ship in X, while Icarus is the 8th ship in Future Redeem. The Black Knight resembling Mobius and Testments, the final boss turning into yellow motes, black fog being present which disrupt radars, and some leaking from the beta, which possesses animals like fog beasts, plus all of the references to Xenoblade 1 and 3 in X, like Telethia, Nopons, Frontier Village, Gen Crafting Machine, Melia's Staff, Bionis and Mechonis figures, Tales of Two Nations fighting, mention of Hom-Homs, etc. The Ghost and Ghost Ship heavily resemble Mobius and Uroboros interlinks, and Origin as well. You can notice the same structure in both under the purple flesh. Mira and Ionios also share the same concept, an artificial planet made from different worlds, where memories of its people are stored somewhere else. There are more Ouroboros and Mobius-like armor, L's original form being a mystery, a devilish form like Set, and most importantly, the continents and landmarks in Mira are too similar to Ionios. The order of regions, plants, animals, technology like Cabes Castle and Oblivia Ring, Ferronis Hulks, Lefurian domes in Primordia, which looks like Aerith and Aetia fused, Sylvalum as Uraya, Fornis as Oblivia, etc. If you saw my first video with terrible audio, remember how I compared them previously, but that's not what brings us here today. Now, let us look at the information that contradicts both Xenosaga and Xenoblade X to be canon with the main Xenoblade series, as well as everything that Xenosaga and Xenoblade X have in common between themselves. First, for Xenosaga, the Zohar needs to be in very specific places in both Saga and Blade. In Saga it needs to be on space. Tons of intergalactic wars happen thanks to that object. And if it's not there, the entire political structure of Saga would be different. In Blade, it needs to stay on Earth for all rest to happen. If you use the argument of the conduit or the other can be a Zohar emulator, it cannot be, as Joachim, who made the Zohar emulators, was born during the space era, not on Earth. He's not immortal. And he creates Momo, crucial plot element for Saga 1 and 2, for both Albedo and Rubido, and the white data, important thing from Saga. So, he can't be born on Earth. It would contradict and delete the existence of 2 major party members and 1 major villain. There are no issues with Vector, as it aligns with time periods and Wilhelm's actions. However, the big elephant in the room, Dmitry Yuriev, cannot be the same as in Xenosaga. He was also born in space, the first human to contact Udu through a transfer experiment. In fact, he was engineered in space, a designer child, by the Galaxy Federation, being between 177 and 203 years old, but still designed in space thousands of years after Lost Jerusalem. Here you have dates provided by the game and the databanks themselves. AD 2000 and something, 2000 XXX, the year of the experiment, with Grimoire Verum, and AD 2510, when they transitioned to the TC calendar, Transcend Christ, TC 0006, when Earth was renamed to Lost Jerusalem. The Federation became the Galaxy Federation when they left Earth, but there are a couple of blank spaces and wars for more than 4,000 years, and Dmitry Yuriev doesn't appear in history until 4568 and TC 4591, so around 4568 years after the experiment, if not a little bit more. There's no way it's the same as in Xenoblade. Later, in TC 4701, Joachim Mizrahi was born. Now, regarding the experiment itself, they are 2 completely different experiments. They work in different ways. In Blade, it was all about Klaus and the orbital ring, and how with the conduit's activation engulfs everything in a matter of seconds, splitting the universe in 2, while in Saga, thanks to Grimoire Verum, the experiment resulted in linking and banishing his daughter Nephilim to the Zohar and the slow corrosion of the planet that gave people time to escape, including the church with the Zohar leaving Earth, contradicts Xenoblade 2, until Wilhelm sealed everything up. Klaus and Verum are similar, yet cannot coexist timeline-wise. And of course, the plot and lore similarities with Wilhelm, Set, Origin, UMN, Testament, Mobius, Eternal Recurrence, Endless Now, Deus, Omega, etc., it would be too redundant to have virtually the same story twice. For Xenoblade X, it is way too convenient to have another Earth with the exact same continents, culture, coalition, and the name of the Earth colonization project, even if we consider that this new humanity was made by the previous human civilization, aka the Sumerians, and both Saga and Gears have many planet Earths and Jerusalems. I think it's too much, and it cannot be the same Earth from the experiment, as we have the Ares Ouroboros and the Origin-like ship. And now, what Xenosaga and Xenoblade X have in common. Both Xenoblade X and Xenosaga have some alien or whale-like creatures appearing to fight humans. A civilization of humans flying through space, the Sumerian ships from Xenoblade X strongly resembling both an Abel's Ark and the immigrant fleet from Saga. Also, Xenoblade X uses visual elements from Saga, such as Bunny, the mascot of Vector. This blade pattern on its uniforms, like the one from Gaigun, Testament as an organization, and both franchises deal with an uprising of synthetic beings rebelling against their masters, the Salvators and Ganglions, led by ambitious leaders, Dmitry Yuriev and Luxar, while also having humanity making fake humans, the Realians in Saga, some which rebelled as Salvators, and the J-Bodies in X, which were introduced in Jelb's Affinity Quest line, that most people miss, so spoilers, I guess? I warned in the beginning of the video, but even so, I guess this would be a shock for a lot. Both Xenosaga 3 and Xenoblade X have a ship, the Elsa and the White Whale, which reaches as strange planets, Rennes-le-Chateau and Mira. Said planet-like locations have data and remnants of the past as a strange phenomena. It's something about those planets. And the plot revolves around a strange girl, either a robot or in a robotical suit, that knows, but not necessarily shares, knowledge about what is happening, and leads the party. Okay, now, they are similar, but if none of them are canon, then what will Xenoblade 4 be about? Finally, it is time to talk about the future. First, let's talk about our first neutral option, episode Icarus. And after that, the real neutral path, where we analyze the plot threads of all mentioned games and predict a common line or plot elements for the next game. No matter which one you pick, these elements are present and will probably be part of the next game. First, episode Icarus. In Xenoblade 3 Future Redeem, if we consider all the Gears, Saga and X referenced as just Easter eggs, that blue light would be one of the ships that left Earth. Probably the Icarus, since it was the most recent one, hence the closest. What is the Icarus and what would it bring? Well, there are people there from the original world, along with some Sabirites that weren't present in the rebellion. So, following this line of thought, the next Xenoblade could take place in this moment where the Icarus arrives, or a prequel to this, with whatever happened to the ship when the worlds were split. Did the ship suffer too? Did they find something in Eta Carinae? I'll call it Xenoblade episode Icarus, or just 4 Icarus, Odyssea, or something. We lack too much information. To differentiate it from the Klaus trilogy, maybe they could use Roman numbers or no numbers at all, to avoid the color red as it's associated with Definitive Edition, Xenoblade 2 and 3. So maybe use blue due to the Icarus blue light, like Xenosaga 3's logo, or a light blue like Xenoblade X. Anyways, if they are arriving to these worlds merged definitely, we'll call it Neo Ionios. I don't think it's just right away after the worlds remerge. Noah and Mio suffered enough. I think they'll receive a signal of the planet returning, or maybe a planet appearing, with them thinking it's a new one, and arrive a couple of generations after Noah and Mio. Now, before making a list of mechs, technology and cities from both sides and predict the conflict, let's check the neutral answer, what they all have in common after their adventures concluded. They were all adaptations of Xenogears Perfect Works, episodes 1 and 5. Let's not forget that in Xenogears, the Geisel Ministry planned to follow Deus and use Merkaba to go outside Phase Planet and conquer their original creators, the original humans from the Milky Way Federation. Even before that, Deus wanted to go back to the main planet, back when he was sealed in the Philadelphia-class ship known as Eldritch, and lost contact, so maybe they will come to search for the Eldritch and decide to colonize Phase Planet? In Xenosaga we have KOS-MOS, and possibly the protagonist civilization, the Galaxy Federation, returning to Lost Jerusalem, aka Earth, to meet whichever beings were sealed there, and who knows which adventures they had. They could have more god relics? In fact, it was planned to have a soft readaptation of Perfect Works episode 5 after Xenosaga. In Xenoblade X, we have the tale of this new humanity in fake bodies arriving at the planet that holds them and their data hostage, the planet of their original humanity, aka Sumerians, that created most slave races that rebelled. Plus we have some of the new humans in real bodies, other survivor ships that left Earth, but without a lifehold database. They were in actual cryogenesis. They were detected in some side quests. And we have fake humans in fake bodies, created by these Earth humans, the J-bodies. And, as we said, in Future Redeem, and episode Icarus, we have the Icarus, an Earth colonization project ship that departed before Earth was lost, and either rematerialized after the merge, or detected the planet coming back. There is no conduit, so they could have lost power. Something went wrong. They need to come back. Humans of the original world and Saviorites meeting the Neo-Ionious humanity. No traces of the old world. They may not even be accepted, or try to take back the planet by force, or not recognizing it as Earth. For them, it could have been 2 years outside or something. So, no matter which one follows, there are a couple of themes and plot points we can predict based on either of these 4 iterations. A clash of the new humanity and the old one with no home. Not like in Perfect Works and the Number Blade games, where it was the new humans playing with toys from the old humans, aka AI mechs connected to an otherworldly monolith, trapped in a cycle of birth and rebirth. Those were the old arcs. This new arc is these 2 human civilizations finally meeting, the emerging new and the old remnants. So, the new themes would be birthright, politics, racism, segregation, culture, environmental issues, resources, property and belonging. Now, let's go back to the Xenoblade Icarus concept. While most people just assume Earth people will have the technological edge in the war to come, I disagree. Let's look at the main assets from both parties. First of all, neither side has sirens anymore. There is no conduit to power them, and the sirens in particular were operated by the Trinity processor, remotely. All of its weapons rely on the conduit. Earth's people have the Colossus artifices though. In fact, the Saviorite rebels used the Colossus ones with cockpits for pilots easily modified for other energy sources. And they also have some Saviorite members, I presume. They could have 2 primary bases. A settlement in Neo-Ionius similar to NLA's concept. They could also have a space station city, more akin to Elysium with a fake sky dome, or even better, like the Kukai Foundation. They could also search for the remains of the Radamanthus or the other Beanstalk and other Philadelphia-class ships that didn't depart. Also, tons of mechs and automatons like the ones from the World Tree, along with scientific data about weapons, long-range ships, beacons, etc. That without taking into consideration that these humans could have learned or developed technology near the Eta Carinae region, if they were awake or existed during that time, or if they reached it. Now, what assets does the world of Neo-Ionios have? As we said before, sirens are gone, but they do have mechs that match in terms of power and speed, that do not rely on a slave generated from the conduit. We have phased mechons from Xenoblade 1, metal phase maneuvers with ease in the air. The phase mechon cockpits are similar to Xenogears Omnigears, responding to the user's commands. We also have high-end airships, pretty fast. And speaking of high-end tech, they got teleporters, something not even Earth's people could develop. In Xenoblade 2, Titans are no more, although Keratina appears to be a Titan of sorts. So there could still be room for Titan weapons. Also, the Monoceros that Mikhail piloted could turn into a mech, and we got blades and human hybrids, beings created from core crystals and humans, something Earth's people wasn't able to do, as similar experiments resulted in Goldos instead. From Xenoblade 3 we got Feronices. Colony 4 showed us they can be modified to use ether cylinders. Availability of fuel could be one of the sources of conflict between Neo-Ionios people and Icarus colonizers. Anyways, Feronices could still be used as weapons, but would demand too much fuel. Maybe 1 or 2 Feronices? We have Levnices though, less expensive, especially automatons from the city and Agnian Levnices. In fact, Agnian Levnices could be this game's equivalent of the Xenogames from Xenoblade X. Future Redeem Liberator mechs are also powerful, but require pilots, and are expensive. But that was when they were scavengers, hiding from Mobius. Regarding weapons, blades from Xenoblade 2 and 3 are pretty much the way to go, although 3s are stored in the cloud from Origin, so maybe only physical this time? We got energy rifles, swords, shields, bigger guns, pretty much the same on both sides. Regarding cities, they have the upper hand. No more Xenoblade 3 colonies, now we have proper cities. All of the Xenoblade 1 and 2 cities in Neo-Ionios, but bigger, with more technology. Colony 9, Colony 6, Neo-Agniratha or Alcamoth, Keves Castle, Agnus Castle, the eventual city people-like civilization, as we saw the old city that looked like a very metallic, real-life city, with refrigerators, AC, lamps, parks, modern buildings, very similar to the original Earth. Imagine that, but in a larger scale. And also we have the new city, inside of a flying fortress, able to relocate. So, all of these already existing cities, but better, with teleportation tech and mechs that do not depend on the conduit, plus they were already established and dominant in the planet, while the others are just arriving. So I say the Ionios gang is pretty much winning. The odds are against the Icarus colonizers, so I feel like those will be our main characters. The losing side. About geography, Mira is a very good template for Neo-Ionios. Similar regions, but less recognizable terrain, curvier terrain, but instead of floating due to annihilation, as continents connected by the sea. We could either have Origin Bird or the Icarus, or even both, as the big thing present in the background, visible from most regions. Ionios was a temporal fusion. Neo-Ionios would be a fully fledged fusion, which means some regions would be more fused. Also, Origin is still there. It is thanks to it that the worlds remerge, now dormant, but some traces of its weapons could be there. We could even get Mobius, not as a major antagonist, but as a vampiric-like race to add to the lore. But we are getting into speculation side. Yeah, let's speculate. Wild theories. They could reuse the concept of Joachim recreating his daughter as the artificial Momo with the following wild thought of mine. Galea is the only other original human or Saviorite that we see with silver hair and dark skin. So, this is gonna sound wild. But what if Galea, who worked with Klaus on the Trinity processor, modeled Ontos in the image of her hypothetical son Alvis, like joking with Momo? We could have an Alvis-like character, like Chaos. We could have the Guldos as the new Cantors. Or, instead of an Elma character, to have A back, or a repurposed KOS-MOS. Maybe reuse some unused X characters like the father, being either Old Man Gondor or an older Matthew, a remnant of the Black Knight. We could have Luxar's role with the new Dmitry Yuriev, which is better, along with Vector, which could still be out there, or remnants of the Icarus products. A new iteration or adaptation of Junior, one of my faves, along with Albedo. Or have an L-like character, but with Set. Imagine, instead of El Sirufe, to have Satan as a companion. We could have regions on the planet, on a space station, and on the moon. Or have Noah's swords, which he threw to the sea, made from origin metal as an obtainable OP weapon like the Rusty Sword. Who knows? But that's too much baseless speculation for now. What do you think? Still arguing about Xenosaga or Xenoblade X? Is there any character or concept from those games you would like to see in Xenoblade 4? What do you think of the Icarus? I hope I got something right for when the next Xenoblade is announced. The imperfect work predictions. Make your wishlist in the comments below. And if with all of this data things started to make sense, or there are useful facts here to debate, please share this video with others to spread the discussion. Let us see how far the algorithm brings us this time. Anyways, that will be it for today. Have a good one.